Welcome. We are so privileged today to meet on Gadigal country. The Gadigal, like every other Aboriginal nation and Torres Strait Islander people, cared for country, but we do know how important it is for us to stay healthy mentally, physically, and most certainly spiritually. Welcome to Aboriginal country. Welcome to Gadigal country.
These 2 days are very much about bringing people together who are like-minded, really to look at knowledge exchange, sharing the experiences and the expertise you each bring to the room, to work towards a shared discussion paper and to really think about what opportunities there may be for ongoing collaboration.
The next thing I want to do is introduce you to the Wheel of Wellbeing.
So I came across the Wheel of Wellbeing when I worked at the Mental Health Commission.
I love spinning this, so I'm going to spin it myself.
You try and collect a marker in each of the domains of wellbeing, so physical, mental, and you talk about a tip, something that enhances your own wellbeing in that area.
Body, be active. So if you've got a physical or body tip for us.
In the conference today we're just spinning it really and getting an idea about what different organisations are doing around the world. To talk about different tips for wellbeing, but also to collect tips from other people in the community. It's a great game.
My name is Mieke van der Bijl-Brouw. I'm a senior lecturer with the Faculty of Transdisciplinary Innovation at UTS. My expertise is in social innovation processes. I'm interested what kind of practices do we need to address complex societal problems.
How we can bring people together around complex issues related to mental health and well-being, and how we can make that a productive collaboration.
When we look at a complex problem like well-being, what helps is to firstly look at how can we approach that problem from different perspectives, which is what we call the framing of the problem. One thing we did was first look at what makes this a complex problem.
Now, a complex problem is a problem or a context where there is a relationship between cause and effect, but it is impossible to predict what that is. Complex problem also means that you treat it as a dynamic problem that's constantly changing.
Who are the stakeholders in this problem, and what might be the broader stakeholder context?
What very often helps when you want to try to frame a problem in a different way is look beyond those current stakeholders and think about who might be other stakeholders who might have an interest in this problem.
And then we kind of brought that all together in a discussion and looked at, okay, what are the different ways in which we might frame the promotion of well-being, and what can we do as a group to collaborate around that issue. So that was great. I think what was most surprising was the outcome. Everyone was very passionate about this idea of the promotion of well-being, and they were really keen to actually start doing something about it this week. So now we're thinking of a way how we can actually make a difference at the conference already and seeing what we can do as a group there.
I left home when I was real young, a street kid, just had a hard environment for that. So as soon as I got a chance, I went back to do university. When I got off the streets, went and became a teacher, and I was an MC, so I used to travel a lot around Australia and as a hip hop practitioner and seeing the power of how music can change and help youth. It's all about culture, yeah. So if we want to educate people, help mental health, and all this sort of stuff, we've got to figure out what are they into to be able to help change. Otherwise, beating up against something that's not. So a lot of time kids are into hip hop. So it's a lot of organisation does is teach through what's going on with them in their lives and try to create programs around that.
My mother, my father, my sister, my brother, my family. Hey, hey.
It's education on thinking how to use the mind. It's education on thinking what inspires you. Where do you want to go? Yeah. For me, it was good teachers. It was guidance that I had later on in life that helped me change that. So that's why we try to use programs in communities that don't just teach you culture, they teach you how to use your mind, and how to aspire to your dreams, because we are full of unlimited potential. And there's nothing stopping us except fear and self-doubt for ourselves.
Here's that chippy black kitty man, jumping up in the middle and thinking about it and killing. My vision is tripling, picturing subliminal images. Five flames flickering, waterways trickling, play with the waves of the bay, all day living it.
I began to communities and like the government business managers, not much different to mission managers that have taken over on the new way that we are now. And they say, what do you reckon you should do in there, Kumar? Should we do it a sundial? It's like, Don't build a sundial. Go in there and ask the kids what they want. Go in and ask the people in the community what they want. Go ask the elders what needs to change. It needs to come from a community focus always. We have to be leaders. We can't just be sheep in the system that's trying to hold us down here. We have to make change from this. So you guys collaboratively coming together and being the foresight of that, Light T is proud of that.
One love, one life, one mob, one tribe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm now going to introduce you to the Centre for Social Impact. So welcome Lena and Alexandra for the afternoon.
We're going to be talking to you today about how to mobilize key decision makers to implement wellbeing policies, programs and services, but from a data and measurement perspective.
If you imagine an organisation from 20 years ago, you have the leader at the top of the hierarchy in a traditional command and control model. And the leader had, in that time, 20 years ago only, the leader had all the information. It was based almost on popularity and likability. So you had to influence the person at the top. And the way that you did that was you got them to like you. So if they liked you, they would trust you and they would do what you suggested. They would follow your hunches. The information revolution, technology has changed all of that because now information is at everybody's fingertips. Leadership is all about collaboration now. It's something that we can all participate in. It's something that we all collaborate in. So the way that we influence decision makers now, it's not about popularity, it's not about likability anymore. It's not about you trust my hunches because you like me. Now we influence and mobilise through information, through the best use of information, through data and measurement. And the way that we use evidence has changed.
We have to use not only our hunches, sometimes they give us indication of where we should be exploring more for more information, but in this shared leadership model, we have to get more data. We have to get data about what's actually happening on the ground. And so a data-driven decision happens at the confluence of three things. One, you've got a hunch that's backed up with local data or local information about what's truly going on the ground, and some larger discourse that can back you up. Then everyone should be able to participate in that data gathering, that collection, that analysis, and that sharing and that dissemination. How do you or people you've worked with tend to make decisions about implementing well-being policies, programs, and services? And please speak from your experience.
I think the important thing is you've got to adapt to each situation and context. You can't just take off-the-shelf policies and programs and expect them to work unless you're talking to the people they're going to affect. And you need to factor that in.
And the people who were more on the grassroots level, who are doing really great small things, they said, well, I need evidence so I can talk to my decision maker and show them, hey, what I'm doing is actually working so I can get more funding. But then some of the decision makers we talked to, they said, well, evidence is good, but it's really just a small part of the puzzle because, there's so many different factors that you take into account. And it can also be just really inspiring people, which is very intuitive.
I think storytelling is really critical. And I think it's a combination of, so basically knowing your audience as much as you can before you go.
I'd like to formally introduce Ninan Matthews, who is the Wellbeing Coordinator here at University of Wollongong.
The Student Life and Wellbeing program has been running for the past 3.5 to 4 years. It started off out of a need for a student-led program, sort of being a proactive program. It's very much our own program and the students inform the program, so it's best to know what a student wants from a student's mouth rather than someone else from sitting outside in an office trying to figure out what a student really needs. We'll go straight into our first activity, which is a bit of balcony gardening, and you get to take a little flower home with you as well.
I was just looking at the Wheel of Wellbeing and looking at all those categories, and I suddenly thought, hang on, our community garden hits all of those categories, every single one, because so many different people come down to the garden and want to be part of it. But they all come for different reasons. Some come to grow food, some come because they're sitting by the river, others come to connect with each other, and yet here together we make this kind of community.
We do balcony gardening workshops, which we experienced today, which we teach them how to pot plants and pot even herbs and things like that so that they can use that to cook, but also how to take care of the environment, how to take care of a plant.
The Discovery Space is a children's museum for 0 to 10-year-olds. It's for children and their accompanied adults to come and play and learn together. But we have about 14 to 15 larger experiences, and they range from, we have a dig for archaeology studies, we have a shipyard, so a giant ship which they can set sail the inside of a tummy, so they enter through the mouth and then come out the other end. There's creativity where they do arts and crafts. There's a light, sound, action, so a stage where they can get dressed up, put on music and lights. And the other good thing that we have is the outside gardens, the Discovery Gardens, which are a really nice place for them to go out and explore.
Hi everyone, my name is Jules. I am from Bali and I have a restaurant called Balinese Spice Magic based on my love of food and cooking. And I'm trying to keep my culture and tradition alive. I'm from the mountain, so where we are, we grow most things. We grow most of the, the spices and the vegetables. Food has to be a real food. We're trying to educate, the children or the adults. That's a lot of simple thing. A lot of the spices is actually magic, not only for the food, but it's actually for your mind and just everything. So I introduce Balinese Spice Magic, and trying to introduce the spice as a magic that actually healing as well.
Coolabong Village is the world's first positive residence. It was built upon the principles of positive psychology. So this building opened in 2013. So it's still called the world's first positive residence because everything is based on positive psychology. We ate lunch in a room called flow, and flow is a positive psychology concept again, that you're in that state of flow. A lot of the study rooms are named after positive psychology concepts again, like meaning, virtuous, purpose. So we're trying to embed positive psychology even in the students' minds as they're living in an environment, rather than just talking about it. They read about it when they just walk down the hallway. So that's a very powerful aspect of how we can educate students about something new. We are teaching them about these concepts, but in an experiential manner, and that is the most powerful thing that we can do.
So wow, what a full jam-packed 2 days that we've just experienced. And this is our reflection session. So any reflections just off the top of your head?
For me, it really affirmed that there's more in common than not, that there is something you can actually apply and structures that do help you to do that work.
There is a sense of commonality, just as a really affirming thing too, that there are plenty of like-minded people, so if you set out on this journey, you'll have company.
We're lucky to have people from so many different disciplines, and there are lots of connections. It's really clarifying those points of connection.
What strikes me is how important it is to contextualise, to customise, which goes to, I think, the importance of having the method very clearly in place and being clearer about what the questions are. We're discovering and investigating and how to put that framework. So the rigour is important as much as the process.
One of the things that obviously we put out there for this particular match is that we actually come out with something. So I just want you to reflect yourselves individually on 3 ideas that you think could contribute to those outputs. I want you to arrange yourself into 3 groups based on people that you think you may have some commonalities with, or there may be opportunities for you to work together in the future. I want you to come up with the top 2 ideas for your group that you think will contribute to the discussion paper. And here you have an audience of many, many people, and I want you to pitch your 2 top ideas.
The big overarching statement, we thought, well-being needs to be seen as a systems issue, not just an individual, and action should reflect that.
The need to have some solid evidence, a very strong story, and some very clear and practical actions to take things forward.
I think one of our actions is actually around leadership capacity building, and that includes engagement with kind of communities and having a foundation around kind of community engagement.
Obviously, our task is to take these ideas and think about how we're going to present those back. Thank you all for your intense participation. It's been a fabulous 2 days. This is not the end, I think it's the beginning.